Like, guys, welcome to the Bro-migo podcast. This is another recording. We intended this to be a nutrition conversation. We're going to probably just talk. We're just going to hang out, chat it up, share some stories about my life, share some stories about Rob's life. Guys, we appreciate you liking, subscribing, and commenting every single time you do. Will help us grow the channel, and we do appreciate that greatly. Give us a comment about anything you want to hear, anything that you've already heard. We appreciate every single bit. And thank you. This is Big Rob. This is Garrett. We are the Bro-migos.
Man, brother. So,
Love
Garrett, how are you right now?
Dude, I'm good. I'm good. I'm tired. I'm a little hungry. I'm excited for the Mavs game tonight. Hopefully we get to see them get a dub against the Heat. But I'm good, man. I'm always good.
How's the workout?
Tiring.
It sucked?
Yeah, it's terrible. Today was just body weight for me, though. So, like, I just blew out as many dips as I could, push-ups as I could, and then pull-ups. It was a lot faster, but it was, like, brutal.
I feel you.
Set yourself a timer. Do as many push-ups, dips, and pull-ups as you can in that, and you're going to die.
Homie, I'm just thinking of the 5 that I would have to do to reach that timer.
Right.
And I'm already sweating. I do need something from you, though.
Ask away, sir.
You remember how we were talking about the resistance bands and the stuff that I could do at home, because it's getting to the point that when I go to the gym at any point, unless it's early in the morning, which I can't do, it's hard to find a bench. It's hard to get on the cables. It's hard to get on a machine. So on Amazon, and if we find one that's really good, we'll put a link in and you all can buy it through our link, and it will help us out, help grow our page. But help me find one that would be beneficial, because I trust you. I trust you more than me just going through and looking.
Yeah, I mean, I can do that. The thing is honestly, your best investment would probably be just like a pair of dumbbells, a pair of 40-pound dumbbells, or a pair of like 50 to 60-pound kettlebells. And the reason why is because you can just do more than just the pressing or pulling on those. Like, so if you got the kettlebells, for example, you could do kettlebell swings one-handed. You could do kettlebell swings two-handed. You could do overhead pressing with a kettlebell. Typically feels a lot better than like with dumbbells or barbells. Just the way that the center of mass hits on a dumbbell. Can you still see me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. My suegra.
Okay.
She texted, or she was calling me, but I'm going to text her. Sorry about that. You still see me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that, gentlemen and ladies, for tuning in for the podcast.
Do not disturb, my friend.
No, yeah, I know. Lordy, sorry about that. So, no, kettlebells, typically the center of mass is a lot better because it's directly underneath wherever you're gripping. So it typically has a lot less injury aspect that you may.
Yes, who's back?
Okay, so kettlebells, honestly, would probably be a better investment. 60-pound kettlebells would be really good because you can do one-handed, two-handed, you can do snatch, you can do squat, you can do rowing motions, you can do swings with it, you could do pressing with it. You can do carries. Carries are so good. So carries would be one of the best things. You have a lot of land, you mentioned earlier?
Mm-mm.
Not anymore, but do you have like a driveway?
Yes.
How big is your driveway? Guess. 15 feet?
Give or take.
Okay. So walk for 15 feet holding kettlebells, 60-pound kettlebells in each hand. You're carrying an extra 120 pounds. Do that for 10 minutes, as many trips as you can do. You're going to get a better workout than you would if you went just to bench press at the gym. So that's probably your best investment is some form of kettlebells or dumbbells like that. But if you do actually get like a resistance band, like the bow thing, the exercise bow. No, not the Bowflex. It's the resistance bow thing.
Yeah.
It's solid. It's a good option, not great option, but it does give you the flexibility to do a lot of those motions with something actively resisting you that you know, oh, if I stand on it here and pull it into my body, I'm getting a rowing motion. Where kettlebells, you do have to learn the aspect of free weights and how to angle your body. But yeah, we can look at it. You and I could we can take a look and see what's on Amazon. We'll post a link, like you said. We'd appreciate if you guys, if you choose to buy it, go ahead and just buy it through us. We'd really appreciate it. But those are some good options for going at home. John Meadows, rest in peace. He was a bodybuilder that during the pandemic, he put together a band pack deal with Elite FTS as well. And they have a really good band pack. And getting just bands like that will be really helpful so that you can, mount them to different places. And you just got to learn how what muscle does what action. And once you know that, you can then choose to load it however you need. Just comes down to your creativity ultimately.
Gotcha. Because I know one thing that's something that I'm starting to figure out too. Like when like when me and Wes hit the gym, uh, a lot of times he'll look at me trying to figure out what he should do, and then I catch myself sitting there moving my arm trying to figure out what
Hmm.
motion will activate it. Because I remember seeing you
Yeah.
do that when we were trying to figure out what to do in the gym.
Yeah. Well, you got to be creative because it's like, Westside Barbell, whom I talk about a lot and how I got a lot of my training from him. They talk about, if they woke up and all their equipment was gone and all they had was barbell and weight, they'd still be a strong team. They'd still be a strong powerlifting team. They'd still make athletes better. And it's because of the creativity and the application. So everything in the gym is just a tool. How you apply it is where you're going to get real results from. So yeah, I try to figure out what angle works best. I worked with one of my good friends, Todd, at work yesterday, and I showed him a slightly different way to hold the dumbbells. And he texted me this morning and he was like, dude, my chest is absolutely so sore. And so it's simple things like that that you just have to find what works for you. And then you can apply that. And when you apply it with the intensity that we've talked about, that's where you're going to start seeing results. It's like the difference between free weight and box squats, free squats and box squats. Similar movement patterns, absolutely completely different movements and exercises. They train very different musculature more often if you're doing them correctly. They're going to lead to different developments as an athlete. One's better for hypertrophy, one's a little bit better for specific athletes in athletic development. So you have to take all these things into account. Um, but yeah, we can figure out maybe like a home workout pod. That'd be a cool one for you.
Most definitely. Because right now, like today, I've been editing, I've been going through all this stuff and catching up on stuff that I haven't been able to do during the week since of work. And my gym, for some reason, closes. The Planet Fitness here isn't 24 hours on the weekends, it's 24/5.
Mm-mm.
So by the time that
It's odd,
yeah, I know it happened with the pandemic because
of course.
plus my hometown,
The Wu
uh,
flu.
yeah, Lord have mercy. Gonna get us canceled before we even start good.
I
No, I'm
know,
kidding.
right?
I'm kidding. But
Michael Knowles, shout out, man. I heard this first from him. He said, I didn't want to get the Fauci ouchie.
oh Lord, have mercy.
Oh man.
Oh my Lord. But
Anyway.
but by the time we get done recording today and I get somewhat more editing done, the gym will be
Yeah.
closed. So right now, what I'm looking at is with that what I call the homemade resistance band, which is an old uh tactical belt, which has a lot of resistance to it. It's a lot
Mhm.
of it's really good. I'll mount it to the door and then do some pull downs.
Do you guys have like a tire or like an old tire or anything like that?
We do not. We used to at the other two places, but 2018 we moved into like a subdivisioned neighborhood with the HOA, so we
Okay, I
can't.
got you.
Yeah,
Can't have much of that.
no.
Because, guys, anybody who wants to, you can use a tire as a sled and just strap it behind you, load it up with rocks, and just walk. And that's tremendous. So there's a bunch of different things, but yeah, I know what you mean. It's hard when gyms close at different times. I'm lucky that, I started gridiron and I have almost everything that I could want.
Yeah, when you go national,
So,
wherever I'm at, I want my two
Lord willing,
hours of
man.
the place shut down just for me to come in and
Yeah,
work out.
Lord willing, man. I believe, me and my wife were talking the other day, Alicia is exclusively the reason gridiron happened because she encouraged me. And so thank you to her. Anybody that I can ever touch with any fitness advice, um, continuing on is because of her encouragement to stay attached to it. And so, that being said, I want to grow and really, really help people. And I feel like there's a big lacking of, I don't want to say effective gyms, but I feel like there's a lack of places that are the true hardcore chalk, ugly, dirty, grimy for the people that really, really want just like to go in there and like. I feel like there's not enough Metroflexes around. Is
It's
the best
it's
way I could say it.
it's kind of like with some churches. So you've got, which I'm not knocking churches in any way by saying this, but you've got, say, Planet Fitness is kind of like your seeker friendly. It's a place that's open. Their
Yeah.
main goal is just to get you in the door and get the message to you.
Yeah.
Not saying you can't grow in there, but with
You outgrow it though.
exactly. So like with Planet
Yeah.
Fitness, I'm about to the point where I've outgrown Planet Fitness in the sense that
Mhm.
I don't want to just get on the treadmill and
You gotta be able to scream. I like nothing against Planet Fit. Okay, I'm sorry. Against Planet Fitness. No disrespect to the people that go. Planet Fitness is not a fitness place. In general, they're just not. And if you can't scream, grunt, or yell, you're in the wrong place.
because I'm lifting and what was it? So I've lost a lot of muscle mass from where I haven't used it.
Yeah.
Because I've mentioned earlier, my PR and bench is 300. I'm barely getting 160 at this point because
Yeah.
of where my shoulders gotten worse, and then I just haven't used the muscles. So I'm
Yeah.
sitting there on 160, and you remember me. I'm
Yeah.
grunting going through it, and I'm having to catch myself. I'm having to sometimes I have to hold my
Yeah.
breath just so I don't scream. And in that fact, I'm messing up the lift because you gotta breathe while you're lifting.
Yeah. It's tough, and it's like you said, Planet Fitness is a place that it does help a lot of people um, get going. It provides an opportunity, but it's just not a serious place. If you can't yell, if you can't use chalk, if you have to censor yourself as as a lifter or as a competitor in any way like that, you're not in the right place because you can't develop. And I feel like there's a lacking of that. And then I feel like specifically with like young athletes, I'm really passionate about helping anybody, but athletes is a special place in my heart, being that I was a good enough athlete to go to college. My athleticism didn't even kick in until after I left Southwestern. Not even close. So like after I left Southwestern, 2017 rolls around, um, and I'm actually playing with a good friend of mine, Dylan Fife, who was a
Mhm.
teammate of mine. You remember Dylan? I love Dylan to death. Dylan, if you ever hear this, I love you and I miss you. Um, and we were playing, and my athleticism kicked in like crazy. I was athletic. I was quick. I was quick side to side. I was quick up and down the court. I could stop on a dime. I could drive through, take contact, finish with the layups. I could play really, really well. And I was like, man, I don't know how well I could have played. I don't know how far I could have gone. And now I don't think I could have ever made the NBA. I'll be very honest. I don't think there was any possible chance of that. And I don't care. I don't need somebody to, man, you can do it. No, it wasn't going to happen. That's not what was in the cards for me. And that's fine. But I don't know how far I could have played at other places or how far I could have pursued that. I don't know where that would have led me. I don't know if even if I'd gone to the same places, had I been better at those places, if I'd had the personal training, the physical strength training that I had had once I learned it from studying so intently, right? I don't know. And that's why I want to provide to a lot of these kids is not just it's not just up and down squat, deadlift, bench. It's all right, we need a box squat. Well, why do we box squat? Well, it's because it's harder. You use less weight, your CNS is less fatigued. You use less weight and get more result out of it. That's special to your sport. And then these kids go back to their high school weight rooms and their coaches are stupid. I don't even care. I'm unashamed to say that. Their coaches are stupid as far as the weight training goes. And they've got egos so big. They're like, yeah, no, this is where you're going to do. And this is how. And this is because we've always done it. Like Louis Simmons is one of the best strength coaches that ever walked on this planet. And one of the things that he said, he's like, yeah, if you're training with 1980 principles, you're training 1980 athletes. He said, I want new athletes. I want the 2010s. I want the 2020 athletes. And that's how I operate. Is like back then, if that was all the information available, heck yeah, that's awesome that you're using it. They haven't updated anything. They don't know what they're doing. And it's like I say this unabashedly is the fact that they are not strength coaches. They are football coaches. And that's fine. I'm not going to ever claim to be a football coach, but I'm a better strength coach than you are. And the fact that you choose to try to dip your toes in my waters because you think you read an article or you saw a video of some freakazoid doing something, you watched Larry Wheels, and now you think you know how to train somebody to be strong. No, that's not the truth, man. And so that's what I want Gridiron to be. I want Gridiron to grow to help people with anything, physical therapy, personal training, and just your average gym goer, because it's the information is so poor that you have to sift through all this garbage. And I don't like people having to sift as much as they do because I've had to a lot. And it's, you know, it gives you a sense of pride once you have. But if I could provide that option for people to just kind of be an easy button, hit us up, I'd love it.
So how many athletes are you training right now?
Um, right now I've got 6 people that I train, and they crank out. Anthony just pulled 500. He's 17 and he's 195 pounds. He pulled 500 pounds for the first time in deadlift. He killed it, man. It was great, and he probably could have done 510 at the way he moved it, how fast it did. Cameron, he's wanting to get more in athletic development. Dylan Petaway, he is my cousin's boyfriend. Michaela is a college soccer player. He's a former college football player pursuing the XFL. Um,
I want tickets when you make it, my friend.
yes, sir. And then Ethan Mack, he is not called Ethan. His name is Mac, even though his name's Ethan. Um, Joe, and Joe will be a starting left tackle for U.S. Trinity football next year. Anthony's was a second team all district defensive end, first year playing it, first year being on varsity.
Heck yeah.
Mac will be on varsity next year, and I think he should be a starting left guard. Dylan was a stud for uh, football, and then Michaela, she's a stud. She's a really good soccer player. She's had some bad run-ins with getting hurt.
Mm-hmm. I feel that one. I feel that
She's
with
gonna
my
be
core.
she's gonna be on the pod and talk about it hopefully soon. Um, might drag her out of bed tomorrow for us to record. And
Uh,
you're good, you're good. But yeah, no, all joking aside, she's great and she's got an opportunity to do well. We just got to get her back to where she was.
so what are your numbers that are you looking for to get to where you can like grow your gym more, like looking for a bigger space, hiring more
Uh,
trainers,
well,
stuff like that?
it fully depends on the demand. If I had 20 athletes knocking on my doors trying to pay me right now, I'd be needing space. I could get max 14 in the space I have right now. So I would need space, but I could get 14 and I could get them going and get them going great. without losing any quality. Problem is then the space becomes an issue.
Yeah.
Long term, the space, long term is I want it to be set up in accordance also to work with physical therapy. And that way, physical therapist would be able to, see the benefit of the athlete's development as well. You're good. um, so looking for space, looking for more athletes, always trying to recruit more athletes. And the interesting part is I can write programs for people that aren't here and have the follow up with them. So if people are interested, message us, hit us up. I'd be more than happy to. And obviously, since I'm not there, cost is definitely much more affordable for that. But you know, as far as numbers go, dude, it's right now. It's just trying to provide the best quality.
But just for reference, you're running this out of a garage right now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're dude, from what I've seen and then like how you're so when you first started this gym, you and we talked about it because this was a big thing for you. Because I know
Mm-hmm.
ever since I've known you, you wanted your own gym. You wanted
Mm-hmm.
just this. And when you were starting out, a lot of these people that you just mentioned, they came in knowing absolutely nothing, barely could lift it.
Yeah. I mean, Mac. I'll brag about him for a second. Um, with respect to Mac, he's a big kid and he was weak as piss. Like he was weak. And now he's turning into a strong kid. He really is. He's put almost 100 some pounds on his bench press in almost a year.
Heck yeah.
His deadlift, he deadlifted on a 4-inch deficit. He deadlifted, shoot, it was 425, I think.
What do you mean by a 4-inch deficit?
So we were standing on a 4-inch deadlift. So he was elevated his feet up 4 inches. So
Mm-hmm.
he was standing higher than what the plates were on the ground, which just increases the range of motion.
Yeah.
So we don't do very often like strict straight weight straight deadlift from the floor. We typically do a variation of that. Um, when with that variation, it provides a new stimulus to the body to adapt to. Most of the time, you want the lifts that you train to be harder than the actual classical lifts because then it carries over to that. So the deficits are really hard. Deficit deadlifts are really, really hard on the hamstrings because you're doing 4 inches increased range of motion up and 4-inch increased range of motion down. So you're doing 8 inches more worth of work, which when you take the math in and do the physics formula for work, that's a lot,
Okay.
especially when you're handling 400 pounds. And so he pulled that, and I mean, he's getting strong. I mean, and he's squatting. We identified his low back is weak, but we figured out, that's a big thing. His triceps don't. He ain't got no triceps. He ain't got no shoulders, and he's still making all this progress. And so that's where the benefit is. And Joe, the same way, man. His bench press. I remember when he couldn't. He was putting up like 155. It's been about 2 years for him, and he's probably putting 300 up in the next 2 weeks. I
Heck
don't
yeah,
think he's
bro.
going to listen to this. So after he gets it, I'll send it to him. But yeah, this cat's putting. He's going to put up 300 pounds. I mean, he's 17 years old. So it's like those are good things because it's hard, man. Putting 300 pounds over your chest. It doesn't matter how crazy you are. That's a big deal, man. I mean,
Most definitely.
that's a big
Most
deal.
definitely. Dude, just from hearing that, I think that goes to you talk about how I'm doing good and how I'm doing amazing, but bro, a lot of this where I'm at now, if you go back to the root of it, it stems from you. It stems from you taking the time, taking the interest, and not letting me quit when I so
Yeah.
desperately wanted to. I wanted to give up.
Yeah.
I wanted just to quit because it sucked. But I mean,
Yeah.
you're the guy when you say that you have a heart to help people and you want to show people. I am walking proof for anybody watching this. If it wasn't for Garrett Zollinger, I would know nothing about lifting. I would know nothing about anything as far as fitness, and I would probably have ripped my shoulder completely out of socket trying to, because I suck at researching. I completely and utterly suck at researching.
Research is hard, man. Research isn't because you gotta know what you're trying to find out, and then you gotta understand you're gonna get 10 articles of bullcrap, and then that one 11th article you read might have a piece that you can read.
Exactly. I'm that type of person. I'm very ADHD. I don't like reading that much. I can read, but I hate reading. So I'm the type of person I'd go in, I'd half-ass do research, and then I'd come back and you'd see on the news, that man ripped his shoulder completely out of socket trying to lift weight. So
Yeah,
if it wasn't for you, dude, literally in that chance encounter we talked about on previous episodes,
it
literally,
was. That was a freak thing, man.
if
Well,
it
and I
was,
had quit basketball that year. Remember, I
mm-hmm,
had stopped playing basketball my senior year. Had I still been playing basketball, I wouldn't have played. I wouldn't have been able to.
exactly.
You
If
know,
it was
and
it was literally God's timing. God lined that up to happen because
yeah,
honestly, no other way that would have literally happened with the
yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's something that we hadn't really shared my story too much, and maybe we get into it today, maybe we don't. But like, I knew that I wanted to lift weights or do something lifting weights since I was 14. I loved it. I loved every part of it. Like I wasn't super confident as a younger man. I was a little insecure about my athleticism, and rightfully so. I wasn't the best athlete in the world, so I wanted to get better. And then I was insecure as far as like with girls at that time too. I was 14. Every guy is, but I took it for whatever reason. I took it harder and was like, no, I want to look good. I always told Alicia this is like I want you, my wife Alicia is gorgeous. She's so beautiful. And I was like, I want you to be able to show off me like to your girlfriend and to your family when you meet me. I want that. And so, but that started back when I was 14 years old, 15 years old. I remember in seventh grade, I asked Coach Massey, I was like, hey, I have great grades. And they didn't want most seventh graders at the time because at my school it was seventh, eighth, and ninth was junior high, and they were on one campus. So I wasn't like with, ninth grade was not on the same campus as high school. So I was like, Coach, I have great grades. Like, I told him, I was like, I'm not going to go home and do anything. I'm not going to homework. I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to study. I wasn't the best student in junior high because I didn't care. And it's just, like I got good grades, but it wasn't because I was a good student. I was lucky. But he was like, "Yeah, you can go to the weight room." And I was like, "I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing." I walked in there and I was so fortunate that some of the eighth graders and freshmen were willing to talk to me and teach me. They didn't push me away, shove me away. They tested me, they pushed me. The seventh grade kid in the gym, they're not going to just give you respect.
no,
And
you
so
gotta
I
earn that.
worked. Yeah, it was tough, but I earned their respect and they helped me. Billy Hornisher, man, I don't if you ever listen to this, Billy, you were a massive influence on me in getting me around things. Because had you been a jerk, I might have not pursued it the same way, And I'm friends with you on Facebook, dude. I don't think we've talked in probably a decade, but dude, like you made a big impact on that, And I made good friends in that. I got better. I was a decent athlete. I was always strong, but I wasn't like super athletic. And so I started training and I got better. And then I remember my freshman year, after football, I decided not to play football in high school. And I wanted to, but then I didn't because I had struggled with my freshman year. I felt like I should have gotten more involved with the offense and I didn't get that opportunity. And it really stung. And, but I still remember Coach Greenway. Um, Coach, if you listen to this, I really enjoyed playing for you. I wish I would have played for you longer, but I got to go, and I remember I was going up to LB Bell, which was my high school, as a freshman. So I would go from there. We would go practice with the JV or the varsity in the off season, and I was okay. I was not phenomenal. I was still learning the game, but I was strong and I played hard. And I remember we were leaving at one point. Coach Greenway looked at me and goes, "Hey, you're getting bigger, Zollinger." Best day of my life. Loved it at that point. Man, I loved hearing that. And then it was just I was just seeking it after that. And then in basketball in high school, man, I focused on it and I got really strong. I remember Coach Fortenberry is like, "No, Zollinger, I'm not opening the weight room. Strength's not your issue." You know, and so it's I had really good influences around me in that time and I pushed really hard, but I still have that in the back of my head is like, man, how far could I have gone? How good could I have been, even if it wasn't further, had I had the type of training I have now? So when I want to push for these kids, you know, I advocate for these kids. They come talk to me about their coaches and what they're struggling with in their weight room. And I'm like, well, this is probably what your coach is trying to achieve. Here's a better way to do it. And you probably can't do it. You need to listen to your coach to an extent. And then when it comes to like if it's a health thing, I'm like, nah, you need to ignore that. I'll just be honest. I tell them to ignore their coaches sometimes. Um,
As you should.
yeah, you know, and so it's like I just take into account that, and it's like, you know, I love seeing that, and I love seeing, you know, Michaela going through her injuries and coming back. Man, it broke my heart for her. Literally 2 or 3 weeks before she tore her ACL the second time, I told her it was going to happen, and I was like, "Look, you haven't been able to lift. All you've done is run, 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 run. You can't recover. You're not strong right now." And
Everything got tight.
pop, she lost it, and it popped, and you know, so she's working her way back. She understands, and she, you know, her and her coach is very understanding right now about that. So it's good, you know. I really, I like to, I want to help people, and I'm gonna get emotional, so I'm not gonna get into that. But I want to
Oh
help
no,
people,
brother,
and I feel
we in the roll. You gotta hit
we
it,
in the
brother.
raw. I God put us on this earth for more important things than to make money and pay bills and taxes and die. You know, we're supposed to be a light on the hill. We're supposed to lead people to Him and glorify His kingdom. And, you know, I feel like He gave me a talent, and that is, you know, the ability to see what people can achieve physically, and and just a mind that allows me to deduce what they might need to do. And I feel very strongly that God gave that to me as a talent, and He wants me to be a steward of that. And I felt like for a while I went away from that, and that really bothered me. That when I got, you know, inspired back to it, I wasn't stewarding the talent that Christ had given me, and I was burying it. You know, my church, we just finished a sermon series called "Planted or Buried," and instead of planting that talent, I buried it, and I upset. And I really do believe that God has great things planned for that. But sorry to get all crazy there, but yeah, it's just true. I'm very passionate. I love helping people, you know, and you know, I do hope someday, you know, God willing, I might be able to make that my entire life as far as financially providing for my family someday.
That's definitely,
You
brother.
know, God willing, that would be a long term thing, you know, and you know, so help me out, guys. Ask me questions, get my name out there, and figure out what we can do, man.
Well, brother, I'm gonna tell you right now, and you may get even more emotional with this. You may not, but the
Please don't
fact
make me cry
I
in
got
front of
to, man.
however many people are gonna watch this.
Dude, that's the raw factor. That's the realness in this. That this isn't fake.
Yeah,
This isn't scripted. This is just two bros literally sitting here talking to each other about where we are in life and where we've been and how far we've come.
yeah,
So, literally, that instance when I was raging out and I broke my phone because I couldn't have my nicotine and I happened to run into you at the self checkout in Walmart. That
yeah.
was God. Because
Amen.
that wouldn't have been next day you wouldn't have come in the coffee shop and talked to me because at that
Mhm.
point we just saw each other. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey,
Hey,
man,
what's up?
what's up? Yeah,
We never really sat down and engaged in an actual conversation until the next day
yeah,
when you sat down in the coffee shop and talked with me. That was the
yeah.
first actual conversation we ever really had. And if it
Yeah, like except for just hanging. Hey man, what's up? It's good to see you. All
and if
right,
it
bye.
yeah, honestly, if it
Hmm.
wasn't for that conversation in that coffee shop, if it wasn't for you inviting me to come and work out when Rachel had mentioned us walking in the park, and then you reaching out and giving me that lifeline of your friendship, because honestly, I'm the type of person, I have a low self image of myself. So I don't ever see that any of this that I deserve friendship, the friendships that I have or something like that. I'm very, very, very
Yeah.
grateful for them. But I don't think I've done anything to deserve to have such good
Well,
friendships.
and the thing is that's the beautiful part of that fact is nobody does. It's just because of the grace of God that allows us to do that. Like friend of mine going through some stuff. A phrase he keeps being told is "I deserve, I deserve, I deserve, I deserve, I deserve." It's like, no, you know what you deserve is to do nothing. And unfortunately, what we deserve, because of us just being sinful human beings, we deserve
That
nothing. And yet, God loves us enough to give us blessings and the blessings that our heart desires. And so, deserve is a funny word, man.
I feel you. But honestly, I'm just gonna say it, dude. You're the reason all this is happening. You honestly may not know it,
Yeah,
yet you
I
could
appreciate that.
you've honestly saved my life. And I'm gonna say that wholeheartedly and honestly, without any scripting or anything, because brother, if it wasn't for you reaching out, I wouldn't have initially dropped that and shown myself that I could do it. If it wasn't for you,
Yeah,
as annoyed as I got with you calling me in every conversation was, why aren't you working out, dude? Da 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 da. If it wasn't for you on that, it wouldn't have been there. I wouldn't have had that guilt, that good guilt that I needed to keep going. And if it
yeah,
wasn't for the stuff that you instilled in me and taught me when we were together, I wouldn't
yeah.
know what to do. So honestly, brother, it's because of you that this weight loss has happened. It's because of you that I'm down
I appreciate
110
that.
pounds.
110?
No, 105, 105. I got
105.
off.
I was about
I
to say, you
apologize,
lost
y'all.
5 more pounds
No,
today?
no. But honestly, brother, I do want to thank you. So what you're doing right now with these young athletes and putting your knowledge, bestowing your knowledge upon them and pushing them and helping them, and not because I know how you train. You're the type, you're intense when you train, but it's not that you're being a dick, and it's not if they mess up,
No, it's not misguided or foolish.
yeah, if they mess up, you'll correct them, you'll be stern with it, but in a
Yeah.
loving way because you don't want them to get hurt. But I know
Yeah.
you have their best interest in mind. So brother, I think that you're in the best place you can be. And if I had the money right now, brother, you would have a gym,
I
and if I could do
appreciate
it,
that.
because I think the knowledge that you have just in the the execution of how you train and the passion and the love that you have for the people that you train and what you do, you are probably one of the most beneficial people or beneficial trainers that I could see for any young athlete starting off.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because it really is a passion for trying to just help people because, you know, I think his name is Mark Ripito. He was a powerlifting kind of strength coach for, and a quote that he has is strong people are just better for society. And I heard that, and when I first heard it, I thought about it. I was like, yeah, that's really true. Like you don't send the weak people off to war in Ukraine. You
Exactly.
send strong people. Strong men, lead families to God. And strong women raise beautiful, wonderful, strong children to listen to their heavenly Father first and to seek Christ. And they show the nurturing and love. But it takes strength to do that. And something that we all struggle with is we all struggle with certain mental things. We all do. something that we don't have to struggle with is physical strength. Because if we in physical strength, and physical strength means being able to exert your force of will on something else, which means losing weight, gaining muscle, being a better athlete, anything at all. I said it in an earlier podcast, but if you lift weights once, you're an athlete now. You have to talk about that. You have to think about things as an athlete. And it really, like, I love getting to see people get stronger. I don't like it when people don't take my advice. If you ask it and you don't listen to me, I don't like that, honestly. Like,
I've
that's something that's a pet peeve.
I've caught the
Like,
blunt end of that one.
yeah, like, I don't have a problem with you asking a question, but if you're gonna say, "I may or may not accept your advice," that's fine. I'll tell you my advice anyway, knowing you may or may not accept it. I don't like it when you want me to tell you what to do, and then you're not willing to make that change. That's kinda where I get a little frustrated. It's like I've known people in the past who put in work, work hard, but then I don't wanna say afraid, but they struggle to go into the place mentally that will lead to the level of success.
Yeah, I'm a prime
And
suspect here.
and well, and I'm not even talking about you, but it's just like in general, if you're not willing to go to a different place mentally, you're never going to be in a different place physically.
Yeah,
Like, we've talked about what are some of the things you're gonna have to do to lose the next 100 pounds. It's different than what it took to lose those first 100. And so you have to go to even a different place mentally. You're in a great place right now. Still got to get better.
mhm.
I mean, and that's what's exciting to people like me. But I really do. I have a coworker, and she, like, her hips were struggling, and she was like, "Ah, man, I'm hurting. I'm walking funky." Da da da. And I was like, What's hurting? Where and what's hurting?" She just kind of explained a little bit. And I was like, "Well, hey, try this." I was like, "You can do it at home. You don't have to do it here. And focus on feeling in this particular way." She did it. The next day, she's like, "Garrett, you're a miracle worker." And so it's just like things like that. Like, those are, I love getting to help people and do that. And it makes me emotional because we all get different gifts and talents. Some people's talent is like my father. My father's a wonderful musician.
Amen.
He is I love getting to listen to him sing and play, and doing it goofily or serious. I love it. And my mom, one of her gifts is she's such a nurturer. She's such a nurturer, and she understands how to nurture and love and she's a wonderful mom. She's just a great mom. My wife will be a great mother someday because she has a lot of those types of qualities, but then she's so creative. One of her gifts is her creativity. Her mind sees the way that the house and the backyard and how things need to be decorated, and, like, she just has a beautiful gift for artistic creativity in that. And I struggled for a while being like, "Man, my gift is not real pretty, like, it's kind of brutal." And then I was like, "But the human body is the best machine," and it's because it's the one that God created, not God inspired. God created us in his image. So the human machine is the single best one, and I get to work on that, so I'm a mechanic. I just get to work on the human body. And so it's exciting. It's fun. I was a decent basketball player, and it opened up the door for me to go to SCU, and it opened up the door for me to get my personal trainer certification and get my degree, which you guys might see hanging on the wall in the future. I have it sitting here in its box still.
Mine's
And
sitting up under my TV, so don't feel
you know,
bad, brother.
yeah. So, um, but you know, I really do love getting to do that for people.
Well, I'm gonna
Like,
say this:
so
you do it well.
I appreciate it. You're too nice. I
I'm
appreciate it.
as I tell anybody that tells me I'm nice, I'm sweet, or whatnot, I'm saying, no, I'm not. I'm honest. And my friend,
Yeah.
I won't sugarcoat it. That's exactly who you are. And I appreciate you more than you will ever know.
Well, I'm always here. If I can get you to move to Texas, I can work on you even more, friend.
Brother, that's probably going to be like me getting you to move to North Carolina.
Yeah, I know.
Because home's home. You
Home is where the heart is, man. Shunny.
home
Yeah, I
is where
know.
the heart is.
Okay, so is that where you live in North Carolina?
Yeah, I got it put over my
Okay.
hometown.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna do that,
All
but
right.
that's cool.
See, my tattoos, they're not just stupid random, hey, I want a tattoo, let me get a tattoo. I
I
put a
got you.
lot of thought. Cool thing is, my next one, I talked mama into getting a tattoo.
There you go.
So we're getting her, my brother, and I are getting matching ones. It's gonna be on our right pinky because our thing is pinky promises. So on our right pinky, it's gonna say promise.
That's gonna hurt.
All tattoos hurt.
That's fair. That's okay. That's sad, but whatever. I don't have any, so ugh,
But
man. But yeah, dude, life is crazy because that's what I never thought I'd be in this position. I couldn't have told you. Like I knew that I wanted to get married pretty close to the moment I met Alicia. When I met her, I knew she was going to be a part of my life. I didn't know what yet. And then on April 23rd, we hung out for the first time. I'm looking at a picture of her right now sitting on my desk. And and dude, I just knew that there was something there. And then you know that warm feeling after a really long day when you take a hot shower?
Mhm.
It just melts over you. I swear to God, God poured Himself into me in that moment, and I felt such a wave of anticipation of joy to come. And I said, "Oh my God, I want to hold her hand." I remember audibly saying that, like under my breath, and then life happened, and here we are, man. And it's just like it's so crazy because, you know, I'm not nearly as lean as I could be as a trainer. I could be a lot leaner, and I've admitted that to people. I'm like, hey, man, I like to eat sweets, and until this point in time, I haven't really had the desire to cut them, and I don't really care. And if you don't respect me because of that, you think that I can't do the job well because of that, I don't really care because that's not what I'm trying to prove. Simon Sinek is somebody who talks about leadership, and he says the goal is not to do business with everybody that wants what you have. The goal is to do business with everybody that believes what you believe. And I think that that's not applied well enough in a lot of places. I know physical therapy. I know there's a physical therapy clinic that I've spoken to recently. They're like, well, we don't make this much money. We don't make as much money as other physical therapy clinics might because of X, Y, Z reason. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, why are you accepting everybody? Why'd you partner with a surgeon? That surgeon knows how to slice and dice, put you back together, but they don't know how to make you an athlete. That's just the truth of the matter. Like that's a reality. And they're like, well, we whatever. And I'm like, you need to interview every person that comes in through your door to even train with you. Because if you're not going to buy in 100% to everything that happens, it doesn't matter if you've got the best trainer in the world or the worst trainer in the world. If you've bought in 100%, you're going to get the best possible results out of that. If you're only bought in 50%, you're not going to get the best possible results. Now, if you actually see flaws in the theories of training or the theories of therapy or whatever, that's a different conversation to be held. But you got to do business with the people who believe what you believe. And so, when somebody comes to me and I'm like, hey, I'm going to make you strong and this is how. If you have questions, ask. I want to talk about it. Ask me questions. So, I love it when Cameron he asked me questions. We did a cluster set today we did a slight incline, close grip, bench press, and we did a cluster as our last set. And for those of you who care to listen to this particular part, clustering is when you basically give yourself the absolute minimal rest intra set that allows you to continue to get a few more reps. And these are going to be the most effective reps at actually building muscle. And it's because you've put the most amount of mechanical tension into the muscle, you're lifting an appropriate load, but you've hit a level of fatigue that you're in failure ranges. But anyway, I was telling him, I was like, hey, so you did really good on that first set. These next sets, though, you have to go into a different place mentally where it's like you're slowing it down, but it's not stopping. So you have to drive through that. And I said, those reps where you feel like you can't get it and then you do, those are the ones that are actually going to build your muscle. And his first when he first came in, I don't think he realized this. And Cameron, if you listen to this, I didn't tell you that this morning, bud. You barely could bench 135 when you first came in, and you put up 185 the other day.
Heck yeah.
Quick. I mean, he's been training for maybe a month. So it's just like he's making really fast progress. So it's exciting. But yeah, it's man, I go back to, I'll say it last time, but do business with the people that believe what you believe and buy into it, and you'll get more results.
Gotcha, my man.
Yeah.
Well, I want to continue on with your story. So
Okay, hit me.
my
Ask me, sir.
my
You can
question.
edit some of that garbage that we just talked about
No, I'm keeping that, brother.
out.
But so what brought you to Southwestern? I know it was basketball and I know it was recruiting, but ultimately where did the decision come from to choose
so,
Southwestern?
so I played basketball in high school, and I was wanted to play college basketball. That was really what my dream was. That's what my goal was, and I achieved it. And SCU is one of the first places that offered me, and that was kind of the achievement of a goal. And so that opened up. Coach Woolridge, he offered me. He was like, "Yeah, we can get you out here and play." So that was really great. I did have to consider Baylor. So my sister went to Baylor. She got her undergrad and her master's from Baylor, and now she's at law school. And I think it's Campbell.
Yes, sir.
So she's a top G. Um, and so I I had to consider Baylor because I was really fortunate. I took the ACT one time and I got a 27 on it, and I got a $40,000 scholarship offer academically exclusively because of that score to Baylor. And I had to consider, do I want to go to Baylor and academically try to walk on? And I wouldn't have made it, but try to walk on and possibly miss out on that dream of playing college basketball. And I chose to pursue that dream, man, because I had to have that dream for a long time. And my family was, they said, you invest the time and the energy and the effort, we'll invest the finances necessary. And I wanted to achieve that. And so I did. And, I considered transferring after, I think, my sophomore year. I considered transferring to Baylor. Again, it was considered, my parents had it, they're like, yeah, you can do it, we'll help you figure that out. And then I was just like, all right, well, I'm gonna pray about it and think about it and think about it and pray about it. And when it comes to big decisions, I try to take the absolute maximum amount of time necessary for those things. And I took it down to the last wire and I was like, no, I'm gonna stay. I just made the decision I was gonna stay. And man, God worked it out to the worst things in the world that happened to me at Southwestern, I wouldn't trade because they led me to Alicia. And I'm not ashamed. And Alicia, I love you to death, Alicia. You are my soulmate, and you're probably going to be embarrassed by me even have this on the pod. Rob, you may have to edit this.
Don't know. I'm throwing some John Legend in on this thing, brother.
But no, like I would go through everything I've gone through, hell and back, to be with her because she's my soulmate, and God brought her to me for that reason, and brought me to her for those reasons. So I would not change anything about my life. And then you take it a step further back is, I've got Big Rob, and I've got Dylan Fife, and I've got Tad Davis and Tyler Inman and AJ Scarborough. I've got these guys who are brothers of mine that I could call tomorrow and be like, hey, I need to come see you. And they'd say, all right, man, when you showing up? I
For
love
me,
these guys to death. You literally offered to fly. Guys, Big Rob loves his friends so much. I'm gonna brag on you. You offered to fly down to Texas the moment you heard Alicia was in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bawling my eyes out, and he's, "Do you need me on a plane?" And so, those are the relationships that I've developed at Southwestern, and there are good things and bad things about every circumstance in life, but I would take all the bad to have the brotherhood that I have. So, thank you for being that person for me, man.
Brother, I know I love you to death, man. So yeah.
I love you too, dude. And then we finish all our phone calls saying that, man. Men typically get to the point where they're like, "Oh, I'm embarrassed. I don't want to say that." I say that to you because I do. I love you. I think you are one of my closest friends. I say that to the kids that I get to see every day. I love you, and I think that men, we need to be willing to say that. You know, we need to be willing to be emotional, and that doesn't mean being weak
Yeah.
either. Even though a lot of people struggle with that, is like it's
Yeah.
not weak to admit having an emotion. Jesus Christ died on the cross for our sins, and he's also somebody that went into the table flipping tables and was angry. And then he's the one that healed however many thousands of people with his miracles while he was walking the planet, and has healed thousands since. If you don't get a little emotional about that, then you don't understand the concept of what he's done for us. I've kind of had a dream. I don't think I ever will, but I've always had this like thought process because Randy, if you listen to this, man, I love you. I haven't seen you in a long time, but when I was younger, he sang in a Southern gospel trio that my father sang in with my uncle Greg, my dad, and Randy. And he said that I had like a talent. He mentioned, "Why don't you consider being a pastor?" I don't know that I'd ever be called to be a pastor for a big church. I don't know that if that happens. God, I'm your servant. Let me know. But um, I've always wanted to be able to talk to people and share the word of God too. And so I get to do that. And I think you get to share the word of God with how you live your life and educate some people. Sometimes mentioning things from the Bible is really helpful. But yeah, he would be like, "Why don't you become a pastor?" And I don't know. I don't think I ever will. But that was a thought. Like, I want to give a sermon sometime. you know,
I feel
just
you, brother.
yeah, I think I would talk about how God uses the weak to lead the strong, and that emotions are a good thing. You know.
That's one of my biggest struggles. That's one of my biggest things, showing emotion, because I've told you this before. I don't cry. And you just
Yeah.
made me shed a tear. So we might fight, brother, but
That's fun.
that
You come
that
up here, bring headgear, man. Boxing season starts soon for the boys in the gym.
no, I ain't trying to get knocked out. Uh but no, that's been one of my biggest struggles with just about everything when it comes to showing my emotions. Like, I'll tell you I love you all day because that's the truth, and I'm gonna tell the truth. But the the whole thing about crying is weakness and all that
Yeah.
that's one thing I struggle with because I hate crying and I feel so vulnerable and I feel so helpless when I'm in that moment
Yeah.
because I can't stop it.
But I mean, when we pass along, when we die, and we wake up in heaven, we want to hear the words, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." That's what we want to hear. God, Jesus Christ showed those emotions. And I'm not saying in any way that I'm like Christ at all. I strive to, as Christians do, we strive to be like Christ in ways. But I feel like being willing to cry. So my grandpa, I love you so much. He is where I got my middle name. Thomas is my middle name, unashamedly so, and I love it. And I got it from my grandpa. And he was a strong man, is a strong man, and I'm gonna cry. I love my grandpa so much, and he's such an emotional person. Every time he says goodbye when he visits, it's tears every time, and every time he leaves, it's tears for me. And it sucks because it's like that's a good thing. But the way that I think about it and think and liken this is when I'm vulnerable and I allow myself to show what my heart is feeling, that's when I'm able to be more like Christ because he says Christ wept, God wept for us. And I feel like when we try to hide those emotions, and I don't even not even hide, but when we try to taper or manipulate the viewing of those emotions, we're pulling ourselves away from what Christ showed people. And so that's something that like I struggled with that for a while because I am emotional. I admit that. Like I'm not ashamed. I'm an emotional guy. I just am. But being unashamed to show that too, you know, I feel like allows me to be more in tune with what Christ has called me to be. And I could be wrong, but it makes me at least think so.
Oh me. So this is going to be a little cheesy question, and just because, what was your first opinion of me? Just because I like to ask everybody that, if you can remember it, because it was like a million years ago.
Bro, I do what I'm trying to think. I mean, the first instinct was you were just a kind person. Like I was a stranger to you and you talked to me as though I wasn't. So that probably is just like my first impression. I try not to everybody's like, "Oh, don't judge me." And I'm like, "Nah, we go through life having to make judgments, and that's how you choose to interact with the world." And the first judgment I made of you is I don't need to be a stranger to this person. Like he's a cool guy. He's just a kind person. So that would have been probably the first impression. What about you of me? Alicia thought I was. I'm sorry if you need to edit this. She said she thought I was a douchebag because I was in a cutoff T-shirt and a ball cap.
Ah,
She's
oh
like, "Yeah, I
man.
thought you were going to be a douchebag, and then you weren't, but I thought you were going to be."
My first impression of you was, so when I first saw you, I'm the type of person I say hey to everybody as I'm walking past.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw you and I was like, "What's up, man?" You're like, "Hey, bro, how's it going?" You actually engaged and you actually seemed like you genuinely cared about what
Mm-hmm.
I had to say next. So really good guy, really cool guy, down to earth, somebody I could really get along with.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I try. I try to again, and I try to. excuse me. I try to take lessons of things that I learn from reading. I do like to read. And another great thing from Simon Sinek is he's like humility and leadership isn't oh no thanks it's not me. That's not being humble. Humility is when somebody says I have an idea and you say I want to hear it. And leadership is not hey how you doing but you're in a hurry so you're not actually asking the question.
Yeah.
It's when you say hey Rob how are you doing today and I actually am sitting there engaging to hear the answer because I need to care about it. Because, again, Christ calls us to be warriors and leaders of men and fishers of men. And I don't think anybody is going to follow somebody that doesn't listen to them. I'm not perfect by any stretch, but I want to be like Christ. I want a prayer I've always had is I want to be wise. I want wisdom in my life. I want to be a wise person. I want people to be able to come to me for wisdom. And so I try to put myself in scenarios where I can act on what Christ has told us to do. I'm not always great. I'm pretty bad a lot of the time, but I try. Dude, so what brought you to SCU?
So my first attempt, uh, so you said how you got a 27 on your one try with the ACT. So
Yeah.
North Carolina implemented all juniors in the state had to take the ACT,
Mm-hmm.
which East Coast we mostly focus on the SAT. So I went through SAT prep, which with the SAT, what they ingrained into my brain was, if you don't know the answer, leave it blank. ACT is total different. If you don't know the
Yeah.
answer, fill it in anyway. Just guess.
Yeah.
So my ACT score was a 15 because the English part I took too long reading and all that. So my
Yeah.
grades, my score wasn't high enough, and then my grades reflected my lack of interest in school. So when I first applied, they asked for my transcripts. I talked to Seth Nick. He was my recruiter. What up, Seth? If you see this, uh, and then I sat there and I waited and I never got a call back. So I went to the Art Institute of Raleigh Durham for digital filmmaking and video production. That lasted all of 1 quarter semester because there was a shooting outside of my literal apartment door, and I had no vehicle. I was 45 minutes away from home, and I said, "Yeah,
That's a little freaky.
I was like, I'm not feeling this because it's really weird when you see your apartment door on the news when you're at your
Yeah.
mom's house for that."
Did I tell you when the SWAT team or FBI or I don't know if it was that. I think it was SWAT from the police station was at my apartment. You remember that?
I don't think you did.
Yeah, dude. I pulled up one day and there were cop cars lined through the entire entry. You know, it was behind the Target,
Yeah.
and the whole entryway was lined with cop cars, and then turned towards where my apartment building was. So I saw that and I pulled I like U-turn. I'm out of here. Found
Well,
out some guy had like buried himself in the apartment, was like trying to shoot something or something, whatever. But yeah, it was freaky. We were in the hood, man. Bethany's in the hood.
mm,
Nah,
mm.
it's the hood,
Come to my hometown.
dude. The street that was where. What were those apartments?
Uh
Isle something.
oh, not Belle Isle, Isla Bella.
Yeah, Isabella. There, the street like down not far from that was the street with the highest murder rate in the state of Oklahoma. You remember that, right?
I never knew that fact, and that's a nice
Yes,
blanket, by the way.
my peppermint blanket. I'm cold, man. What can I say?
But
Why? I don't know why my camera keeps doing that to me. You're exposing me there. I'm glad I had pants on for that.
but no, dude,
Yeah, so we were in the hood. Like I'm not saying other places aren't, but that's the hood too.
that's the Oklahoma hood.
Yeah, freaking Choklahoma.
Oh Lord. But
I don't miss
so
that state.
I kind of do for nostalgic reasons. I loved it because it was my first time away from home
Yeah.
and all that. But
Is it the place or is it the people?
dude, I'm telling you right now, driving down Council back to the school, you got the right song on at night, and the sky's clear. You can see straight
That's
through to the
fair.
Devon Tower. I mean, it's just the vibes you get
Yeah, that's
coming through
fair.
there.
I didn't care that much about
Dude, I never drove. I didn't
it.
have a car, so that's all I did
Yeah,
was I
true.
sat there and took in the scenery.
I
But
didn't, man. I the people all that matter from that because like I I'm not gonna say that. I cared more about the people than the other.
I feel you.
I'm not gonna get into the
Yeah,
other. I feel like I taught myself a lot,
I feel you.
and I feel like that's a good and a bad thing to
I
have
feel
taught
you.
myself more than what I feel like I've taught myself more about my craft and my understanding of things. I don't know why my camera keeps zooming in and out. I don't know what's going on, guys. This is kind of getting annoying. I do have pants on. I have shorts on, guys. So I'm gonna see if I can get it to do it again. I don't know.
It's too
Anyway,
random.
um,
Honestly, I think that the school served its purpose. It had a different purpose for each of us. Some of us was actually for
yeah,
the education. Some of us, it was supposed to be the place where you learned how to be an adult when you were put on your own. Some of us, it was like for me, it was for the connections I made because right now
yeah,
I know without a shadow of a doubt if I'm stranded in certain countries around the world or in different states, I at least know one person that I can call and say, "Bro, I need help."
yeah,
And I got it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I get it. Like you said, it served its purpose for everybody. You know, like my mom asked me at one point, not too long ago. She's like, "Man, you still wish you would have transfer schools. I was like, no. If I had transferred schools, I might not have met Alicia.
You
I
definitely
go
would.
back to that. You know, I mean, I always go back to that because he finds a wife, finds a good thing, you know, and I'm never going to be ashamed to brag about my wife. Like,
Dude, you bragged
so
about her before she was even yours. You were texting me and calling me and
I
telling me,
know,
dude, there's this girl. You sent me the picture of her, and I'm like, dude, next thing I know, brother, I'm gonna ask her on a date.
bro, I got a
Brother, you
girl
need to do
now.
it. Then you took her
She's
on a date,
so freaking perfect. Like, she's such a good person.
and I've never seen you more elated to be around anybody in my life.
Yeah. She's on her bachelorette trip right now with Jordan. Um, Jordan, love you. Very happy for you. Congratulations to you and Corey.
Hi, Jordan. Congratulations.
Um, I don't like the fact that she took my wife away for a few days. I'm like last night, guys, I couldn't sleep at all. It was like 1 in the morning and I'm still like tossing and turning. And normally I'm passed out when my head hits the pillow, I'm gone.
Yeah, I knew something was up
I'm
when you were still
rolling,
sending me reels on
turning.
Instagram last night at like
Yeah,
midnight.
I'm like, this is stupid. I don't like this. I couldn't get comfortable. I'm like rolling around. So I'm hopelessly devoted to my wife, and I love her. Hey, thank you, Olivia Newton-John. Rest in peace. So that's just the truth of it, man. That is the truth of it.
But the day you got
So,
married,
man,
I
oh
didn't
man,
even know that you were getting married.
yeah, we had a small wedding. We didn't have a big wedding. We had considered at the time I was working at a job that was considering moving me to Tennessee, and we wanted to be married. And you know, it's a point of contention for a lot of people in the world today is, you know, big or small wedding and this and that. And we cared more about being married than pleasing anything else. We cared more about being married and being together and unifying that in God than the wedding. We have a healthy marriage, thank God. That's what matters more. And so we had a real small wedding. My sister wasn't able to be there. I do wish that she could have been. I think she was in Washington at that time. And so it was my parents, my grandma, and then it was Alicia's parents, her siblings, and her grandparents. Her grandmother, her Lita, which was Christina's mom, was
Yeah.
still alive at that time, and so she was able to be there, which was super special and important. And had we waited to the time frames that we had discussed when we first started entertaining the idea, her grandmother wouldn't have been there. And it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's a perfect memory.
But I remember where I was when you told me because I was at Patrick and Rachel's house. I was in the garage, and that was what we did on the weekends. We went over to Patrick and Rachel's. We chilled in the garage. Southwestern wouldn't let me have nicotine, so that's where I got my nicotine fix on the weekends. But we were sitting in the garage talking, and you called me, and
Yeah, they also didn't like people going gambling or drinking or anything.
I
And so
did not.
nobody did that.
Oh yeah, nor
Nobody
going,
did that. What are you talking about?
no
Norman's
going.
not like 45 minutes away or something.
I mean, and the world's largest casino is not like 2.5 hours
Right.
down 35, but
Yeah.
but
So any of our professors are watching, just letting you know, I
hey,
went to casinos.
I
If
got
you
my piece
get
of
it.
paper. I got my piece of paper.
Yeah.
Dean Davis found out it
That's
was my
right.
vape that was found in the glass commons couch, so
That's
we're
kind of
all,
funny.
yeah, I know. But
Did you know? You want to know something real funny? I want to hear what you have to say, but you want to know something real funny?
yeah.
Is as soon as I graduated, May 7th, that afternoon, I took myself off of the email list so I would not get emails from SEU.
What the heck? I'm still on the email list.
I took that I took that off and I was like, I don't want to know nothing about alumni. I don't want to know nothing about events. I don't care one. I was gone.
brother, I couldn't. I wanted to come and find you after the damn graduation. No, that didn't
I was
happen. You ran out the
out.
door and was on the way to Texas.
I was
I couldn't
out.
even tell you goodbye, and I was pissed about that.
I know. You remember you threatened to steal my little Hulk figure?
Yes, I did.
That was funny. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. That was sidetracked, but yeah, no, I signed myself out of that. I was like, nope.
You're good. But no, we were sitting there and we were talking, and then I got the phone call, and I was like, Garrett, I'm gonna call you back in a minute, brother. And then you called me again, and I was like, give me 5 minutes, dude, and I'll call you. So I sent that text like you do when, like you send me when you can't
Yeah.
talk. Hey, bro, can I call you back in a minute? Instantly, without even me putting my phone down, I got a message, dude, pick up, it's important. I'm thinking, oh shit, what the hell happened? Because I
Yeah.
know that y'all were planning on getting married in the fall, or it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
something like that. And so I stepped out, and then you picked up. I was like, dude, what the hell is wrong? What's going on? What? Talk to me, brother.
Like, Alicia and I just got married.
You didn't even say elite. You said we just got married, and it
Hells yeah.
and I. But
It's so awesome.
brother, watching that journey, just because I mean it, I literally got to see it unfold through my own eyes, just in the way that I saw you post about her. Because once
Hmm.
you once you met her, your post seriously stopped completely.
Yeah. I
Once you
think
be,
the last picture that I posted during our relationship that was not of just me and her was me and Ronnie Coleman.
yep, yep, yep.
Oh, big Ron. Hey, Ronnie, if you listen to this, I think you are a gem of a human being. I think you're awesome and the best bodybuilder ever
Yeah, buddy.
lived. Lightweight,
That is my favorite pre-workout, by the way. So
the
Ronnie,
king.
thank you. But
Yes, sir.
yeah, just watching that unfold, and I could literally, because before there was something off. I'm not gonna lie, there was
Yeah.
something
No,
off.
yeah.
It was like something was missing, and then it was like
Hmm.
the piece fell into place, the lights cut on, everything,
Yeah.
and then your whole demeanor has been changed ever since for a good way.
Yeah. I mean, I right before me and Alicia started hanging out, two things happened. I was training at LA Fitness and I couldn't, I was working. So like I couldn't not work.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine from middle school and high school passed away in a car wreck, Amanda. Um, and that was hard. Like, and so like I hadn't talked to probably anybody from middle school and high school since high school. And all of a sudden, you talked about nostalgia earlier. Everything came in waves. And I'm a nostalgic person as it is. And now I have all these people that I haven't talked to in 4, 5, 6 years all come in. And for a tragic thing, right? And so it was very, very sad. And then the morning of her funeral, my grandma had a stroke and put her in a wheelchair. And so, like during these like 2 weeks, it was seven. I always like it. It was 7 days. Casting Crowns has a song called "Praise You in the Storm," and every single time I woke up and drove, that was the first song I played every single time. I'll praise you in the storm. And all my clients, could visibly tell something was up with me. Every single person, because I'm not really great at hiding that. And I was like, no, I'm not really great. I'm not super okay. But my God is my God during all the good times and the bad. And during this time frame, I'll admit I was lonely in the sense I really wanted to meet someone. I really wanted to meet her, you know. And I had to pray really hard. I was like, God, I think I've come to this realization that if you don't intend for me to be a husband and a father someday, you don't have her planned for me, whomever it was. If you don't want that for my life, God, you are enough for me. Jesus Christ, I want you more than I want these things. That was it. God said, all right, here she is. She had bought a new iPhone and had not synced her Apple Watch to it. And I was like, I wanted an Apple Watch. I was like, hey, we were on the shoulder press right near the front of the gym. And I was like, hey, I'll buy it from you if you want, she's like, yeah, I'm thinking of getting a Fitbit. And I was like, cool. Yeah, I'll just buy that, trade it to you. She's like, yeah, that'll work perfect. She's like, all right, cool. You want to do it at the gym? And I was like, no, we'll go get something to eat. She's like, all right, well, cool. I'll just meet you, I'll meet you at the Chipotle. And then I texted her that the night before. I was like, hey, I'll just come pick you up and we'll go eat. And then we'll go to Best Buy and then we'll, get the Fitbit and exchange. So we went to the Canes. And guys, so I live diagonally across the street from where my wife grew up as a kid. So I'm diagonal across from the place that I got to tell my wife I love her for the first time, where I picked her up for the first time. And the Canes is down the street. We go there pretty much every year on our anniversary of when we started talking. And dude, that day we didn't intend for it to be a date. And then it was 100%. I had that feeling, I wanted to hold her hand. We ended up hanging out, picked her up at 2, and we hung up till like 11. And then the next day, I asked her to go to that basketball game, and we did, and just, man, just fell over from there. And but that was a big key, is I had to accept that God was enough more than whatever I wanted.
Most
And I think
definitely,
that's
brother.
why I think that's why I got so happy. It's because I realized that if I pursue Christ, He brings the desires of your heart. So
Most definitely. And I found when you stop actively looking and you start working on yourself and working on where you want to be and your relationship with God, that's exactly, it's like everything just starts falling into place.
yeah, well, it's just like I was talking about that sermon series, planted or buried. When you bury yourself, you're not going to find the things that you want. But when you plant yourself and you're a good steward of what God has given you, and it's not working on yourself. It's working on your relationship to Christ and the stewardship of what He's given you. Then He reveals what you need to work on. Then He starts bringing you the desires of your heart. And so that's really what happened. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it, but that's really what it is. I'm going brain dead thinking about it. But it's not the pursuit of, oh, I'm working on myself. Like, I hate hearing people. I hate some of those podcasts. Now, these podcasts are super well listened to. It's the Whatever podcast and then the Fresh and Fit one.
I don't know.
They're listened to, and that I heard one of the guys who is a I think he's like the host of the Fresh and Fit one. He has some things that I do agree with, mind you, very few. And God, these places are talking about like, man, I don't think you should get married till you're 35, have slept with 50 women, and have $100 to $200,000 in the bank. I'm like, bro, what the? Pause, slow down. Um, Not no. How about biblically, you need to have a relationship with Christ. You need to pray for the woman that you're going to marry. You need to take her under your wing and under your protection, and you need to bless. You should be monogamous. You should not have slept with women that way. You should, because you automatically don't have a respect for them if you've slept with them like that. And it's just like, bruh, the advice of the world is scary
Mm-hmm.
and wrong, and like there's very few things that I think are like, he says the traditional man versus traditional woman. It's like women typically want a very traditional man, strong, successful, protective, takes care of the woman, but then the woman typically wants to be a feminist and disrespectful to men, still wants to go to the club and be promiscuous, and doesn't really want to have kids for a while because they don't want to mess up their bodies, all this stuff. And it's like, so why do you want a traditional man to protect and nurture you when you're not going to be a traditional woman to help take care of the man's home and take care of his kids? That's something I agree with 100%. But then I'm just gonna tell you, gentlemen, if you find you a godly woman, you better capture her. You better snatch her up.
Thank you everybody for being here with us. We appreciate y'all going along on this journey. Like, share, subscribe, comment anything where you think I'm pretty, ugly, stupid. I probably won't disagree with y'all on any of those, but we really do appreciate y'all being here. And the more that y'all interact with the page, share and get it out there, the more people get to hear us and the bigger we will grow. We are on Spotify now. All the podcast episodes are updated. We will be on Apple Podcasts soon, so share those as well. We really appreciate y'all. I can't iterate that enough, but I want you to always remember to embrace the suck, because trust me, it always sucks, so you might as well deal with it and get it over with. Keep pushing, because if you stay still, you never keep moving forward. And lastly, don't accept your own excuses, because when you start doing that, your brain wants you to stay comfortable, and your brain can be your biggest enemy, but it can also be the best tool and your best friend. I'm Big Rob. This is Garrett. We love y'all, and we'll catch y'all next time.
Peace.